We are back. Super yachts, survivalist compounds. If you're a rich person, you love being a rich person, and you love spending that money. The number of American billionaires has skyrocketed. A lot more rich people out there, from just 66 back in 1990 to more than 800 today. Where are they partying together? There was a row of them, tech billionaires mostly, at President Trump's inauguration, proof of their growing influence in and on government. The New Yorker writer Evan Osnos has explored the lives of the wealthy and the role they play in our society. He does it in a new book, a collection of essays. It's called The Haves and the Have-Yachts, Dispatches on the Ultra-Rich. Evan, good morning.
Thanks, Tony.
Billionaires, they are multiplying. I guess the market's doing that. Is that what happened here? And why is it a problem?
You know, the good news in some level is that this country's never been wealthier by many metrics. The bad news, of course, is that half of American adults will tell you that they couldn't absorb a $1,000 emergency expense. So what's going wrong? Part of the problem is that so much of the money today has gotten concentrated into the hands of so few. It's actually even more than it was in the Gilded Age. I mean, America's richest people today have a larger share of our nation's overall wealth than the Vanderbilts and the Carnegies and the Rockefellers did. So the question is, what do we do now, right? We're at this kind of fork in the road. Part of the reason to write a book like this is to say, let's take something abstract that we kind of feel around us, a little bit like climate change, and actually let's put some numbers on it so that people can make choices before it's too late.
So how limited is the money that circulates in the economy? Money can always be printed, but as the wealthier are getting wealthier, does that mean other people are getting poorer?
Well, I mean, in an ideal scenario, it lifts all boats, right? And we've had moments in our history in the 20th century, particularly after World War II, when you had this surge of innovation and you had factories being built. And it was, in fact, what they call the Great Compression. That's when inequality actually declined. That period ended in the late 70s, early 80s, and we are now at some of the highest levels of inequality that have ever been recorded. And guys, it's not just in the United States. I talked to archaeologists for this book to say, put this in context for me, and they said, well, the people who built the pyramids were living in a less unequal society.
Wow.
Okay, but so are rich people, the ultra-rich, a problem if they are using their money to invest and those investments become businesses and those businesses employ people and juice the economy? In other words, a defense of rich people would include they are lifting through their largesse so many other people. And this being America, we all have a chance to be that guy. Absolutely.
Look, that's an essential piece of the American story. And I think if you actually look at American attitudes, we're pretty ambivalent about big money. 59% of Americans last year in a poll said they want to become a billionaire. And the almost identical share of Americans, 60%, said billionaires are making the country less fair. We're both cynical and aspirational at the same time. Those numbers are getting a little more concerning over time because the fact is we do need people who prosper, who innovate, who take big risks. This is essential to making America a stronger economy. But as we've seen in our own history, we also need people like the John D. Rockefellers of the world who said, you know, I'm going to use some of my winnings to start the University of Chicago. Andrew Carnegie said, I'm going to take my fortune and I'm going to start putting libraries in every small town in this country, and people are still going to libraries today with the Carnegie name on it. So part of this is about saying to people, there are a lot of different ways to be ultra-rich, and there are some great lessons and some not great lessons.
You talk about visiting survivalist compounds and how the ultra-rich, some of them, are basically not necessarily doing what you've just described, but using their money to withdraw from society, to prepare for the worst. What did you experience?
Yeah, I remember a Silicon Valley CEO said to me, I keep a helicopter gassed up all the time, and I have a bunker in my house with an air filtration system. I went to New Zealand to visit some of these places for this book. I think what happens is when you get so high in the social and the income scale, it's like a kind of vertigo. You begin to feel vulnerable. You're sort of exposed. And also, curiously enough, you're using the very platforms that you've built, things like Reddit, things like other social media platforms, are giving you a sense of the social distress. You're hearing people complain that they can't get a mortgage to get that starter home. And so you come away with a very pronounced sense of social fragility. What I heard from some other CEOs in Silicon Valley was, I hope that my peers begin to say, let's spend less money on our own bunkers and more money on protecting the most vulnerable, because that might diffuse the tension.
I'm trying to imagine the gassed up helicopter escape story 3 generations from now after some apocalyptic experience. It's like so bizarre to me. A singular version of the and we escaped Europe by getting on the boats, and then we came to America. It's like,
The
good thing.
inequality is wild. Just one statistic before we go. 25 hedge fund managers, this is from your book, make more money than all kindergarten teachers in America combined. Just shocking.
Amazing.
Evan, thank you so much.
Evan, thank you.